Huge news involving Hedera Hashgraph and the HBAR token. This is a video to absolutely not miss, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to start things off with a tweet from Eric Balanchunas that refers to some Bloomberg analysis that was done by James Seyfarth, talking about how he believes next year, 2025, which we're on the cusp of, Hedera is going to be one of the first altcoins to see an ETF. He cites Canary Capital, which of course we've looked at previously. We are then going to be diving over to a clip that was put on Fox Business with the CEO of Canary's fund, actually talking about Hedera. He also mentions XRP. And then we're going to be diving over to another clip of him talking about how actually he used the insight that the likes of South Korea and some of the Asian nations have, like Japan, as it relates to technology. You know, often they're very much ahead of the curve. And he's looked at how the South Korean one, which I think is going to collapse, by the way, in the future. And that's not something I say very lightly. I think that has huge ramifications. I think the South Korean one in the future is going to lose a lot of value against the dollar. But that's just my own opinion as a technical analyst. And we're not here to talk about that. He also looked at how actually the South Korean one was one of the largest sort of trading pairs outside of and even engulfing the US dollar's trading volume as it relates to the crypto space. And if you look at what they were buying, it's Hedera. There are so many reasons to be bullish on Hedera Hashgraph and, of course, the HBAR token. It's why it's my largest holding. We've done very well off it thus far. We're seeing a little bit of a turbulent or a little bit of a sort of a rest period after a major move. It always makes me laugh when people say things like it's crashing and things like this. You've clearly just not looked at a chart. We will be doing a price update probably Thursday, Friday, so either tomorrow or the day after. But this is going to be more talking about a major event that is going to take place with the facilitation of a Hbar ETF, and more broadly actually why Hbar, I believe, is going to be one of the best performing assets in this bull market. And more broadly actually why institutions are going to gain exposure to it, because it is the enterprise grade. It's ran by enterprises, largely for enterprises, but for the world as a whole, grade distributed ledger. Let's dive over to what was huge news that broke yesterday. We covered it in our daily market update. We've also released some articles on it. Go and check out allincrypto.com. By the way, guys, Eric Balanchunas, we expect a wave of cryptocurrency ETFs next year, albeit not all at once. First out is likely the BTC ETH combo ETF. You're going to see baskets forming in the future. Then Litecoin, because it's a fork of Bitcoin and it's a commodity. Then HBAR, because it's not labeled a security. And then XRP and Solana, which have been labeled securities in pending lawsuits. Via Jeff or James Seyfarth, I can't quite remember here. Am I saying that right? Yeah, James Seyfarth, in his outlook today, which you can find here. And this is, of course, posted by Bloomberg. This took place yesterday. Sol XRP ETFs may arrive after Litecoin and HBAR. The world is waking up, ladies and gentlemen, to the gravity of HBAR and what it can do, and why it's actually going to be at the forefront of the transformational change and the new system that is upon us, because it's truly fit to do that in every which way. And actually, a lot of blockchains out there can't, hold a candle to it. Dual Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs from Hashdex, Franklin Templeton and Bitwise will likely be the next stop for crypto ETFs approved. Solana filings were recently rejected, and both Solana and XRP ETFs will have to wait until the new SEC administration takes control before being seriously considered. Even then, complex legal issues around these tokens and others relating to their status as securities may need to be resolved. Litecoin, on the other hand, was a fork of Bitcoin and may be viewed by the SEC as a commodity. The SEC isn't calling Litecoin or HBAR a security anywhere. New issuer Canary is the only filer for a Litecoin or HBAR ETF, though we think both have higher odds than others of approval. It's unclear whether there's investor demand. And actually, we're going to talk about investor demand from the lens of Canary Capital CEO, talking about how in the likes of South Korea, and he also talks about how South Korea and both Japan are often ahead of the curve when it comes to technology. There's massive demand. In fact, some of the biggest demand, certainly as it relates to XRP. But what I want to do first is actually play a clip of the CEO of Canary Capital, Canary Fund, actually on Fox Business, talking more broadly about this. And this is interesting. I'm going to go ahead and play the clip.
I'm still holding on to that price target. Hopefully we get there. But really, the bigger news isn't just price. The bigger news is actually all the enterprise solutions that are going to come out of this presidency. So it's not just Bitcoin. We've got Ripple that's building a stable coin that launches on Tuesday. We've got HBAR that's launching enterprise solutions.
Have it, guys. You mentioned, of course, XRP, HBAR, and Litecoin. Obviously, Litecoin, bit of a, that is a real Dino coin, but is this the bull run for the dinos? We'll see. Many of those coins, your sort of crypto gatekeepers, crypto influencer gatekeepers colluded and kept you out of, because they ultimately serve a purpose in the great scheme of things. We're not going to talk too much on that. So very interesting. That's exposure on Fox Business. Canary Fund's sort of CEO really talking about this from Canary Capital. Also, you've got the giants, the real reporters as it relates to Bloomberg, senior analysts talking about HBAR now and the kind of coming exchange traded products that are going to surround it. There's a second clip that we have for you, which actually talks more broadly about kind of institutional demand, because that was one of Eric's kind of worries, if you will. We're going to go ahead and play this. We'll speed it up slightly, and then we're going to conclude the video.
Well, here's the thing, when we were at Valkyrie, the obvious, we looked at the things that were obvious, right? The things that were, marketable, things like Bitcoin and Ethereum and even, a couple of others that were, kind of broad market everybody was looking at. And when I took a break before starting Canary, I actually traveled to Tokyo and Korea, part of my old stopping ground from the TradFi world, to see what was happening in crypto over there. Because I don't know if you saw this, Nate, but when it comes to trading pairs, you usually think that, okay, the US dollar is the dominant trading pair for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. But for several points in time, the Korean won is the dominant trading pair. And it actually took over as the dominant trading pair in Q4 of 2023, Q1 of 2024. And I said, look, I've got to get over there on the ground, see what's going on, see what they're looking at. And I already had it in the back of my mind that HBAR was quite interesting because it had real enterprise applications. we've already established that Bitcoin is the king cryptocurrency. But what about enterprise applications? Which is really the next step here. And not only was I looking at it from that perspective, big industrial uses, enterprise uses. It's a little bit different than your typical blockchain. But when I was in Korea, I realized that it was a top 5 traded token. And there was also a lot going on there. And by the way, that's also how I got to focus on XRP, because it's another one that's huge in Japan, huge in Korea. And they usually lead the way in technology, those two countries. That was something I learned from my days in video games, right? Those two countries led the way in video games. They had a version of the iPhone 5 years before we had the iPhone. They were using it for, consumer purposes when we were still on commercial over here back in 2007. So that's really what stuck with me was, okay, HBAR, nobody else is looking at it. I've got an opportunity to be first if we do something there. So let's go out and lead with one of the leading enterprise blockchains that I don't feel like anybody else is paying attention to.
That's exactly what we try to do here on the channel, is be first on something. And HBAR, we feel like one reason we've pivoted so heavily into it is because we feel like it is just truly an opportunity. And we want to make sure you guys get in first on that, our subscribers, our followers, and that we can provide value to you guys in some sort of a way. Of course, we're not an advisor, and we don't advise that people buy or sell anything that we talk about on this channel. It's up to you guys what you do. You need to take responsibility for your own actions. If you don't, there's no helping you, I'm afraid. But HBAR is going to be a clear winner. And what we've looked at in this video is really just the prospects of it having an ETF, unlocking sort of institutional flows and capital as a result of that, and being a clear winner as far as enterprise sort of grade, an enterprise grade blockchain or distributed ledger is concerned. This is just one reason to be bullish on HBAR amongst a plethora of others. In the past just 2 days alone, we've covered the sort of tokenization of data that Michael Dell reports, or the kind of data markets, the knowledge markets at $20 to $30 trillion, and how Hedera is potentially playing a role in that. Michael Dell didn't say that, but the likes of course, Lehman has. And we see the new COO of Hedera essentially coming from IBM, and Dell is also a governing council member. And then just yesterday, we looked at a number of things about how actually Chainlink might enable Hedera to gain access to the likes of Swift systems and be used and utilized by it, and Euroclear and DTCC and everything in between. And this is just, in 3 days, we've covered 3 major reasons to be bullish on Hedera. This is another one. We absolutely want to share this video. That's the CEO of Canary Capital on Fox Business on another podcast. We'll leave a full link to that podcasters where you can find that full video in the description. There's a million one reasons to be bullish on HBAR. We want to bring you that heat every single day and make sure you guys stay ahead of the curve, just like what the CEO of Canary Capital was saying the South Koreans and the people in Tokyo are. We want you guys to be in that same position. That's it from us, guys. Thanks for watching. See you soon.